Welcome back to the Eastern Front, guys, where I'm sat in this hole that I've thrown myself into. In the last video, you saw the plan in action, the punch through by the tanks and the rush as far as possible at the enemy flank. I'm still kind of surprised that it actually worked, and as some of you guys in the comments and on the Battlefront forums have pointed out, I took an awful lot of casualties I probably could have avoided if I'd taken my time and played it slow and steady, especially in the face of the 88. Well, now I am going to be taking it slow and steady because I don't really have much choice. The tanks are collapsing back into a tighter group so that they can support one another against the German infantry in the woods, all except this one, which has managed to park itself directly on top of something. There's a grenade, and boom, that T-34 is immobilised. This is why tanks and woods don't mix, they struggle to see anything. After a little while, things settle down up there and the tanks seem reasonably safe, which means that it's time to start thinking about taking out that 88. What we've got here is a Mexican standoff. I don't want to risk losing any more of my tanks by going out in the open, but the 88 equally is A, too big and heavy to move, and B, if my opponent was going to move it, it would be defenceless while it was being packed up, and I'd be able to see that and take advantage with the tanks. So yes, my tanks are pinned in place by the 88, but his 88 is also pinned in place by my tanks. That makes it a static target. What do we do with static targets? We bomb the crap out of them. I still have a mortar battery on call. I used it to drop smoke in the first assault. Really badly, I must say, because it didn't take into account the elevation of the 88 or the direction of the wind. So the mortars haven't had a very good game so far, but they can bomb the crap out of that 88. The downside is my best chance of directing the firing quickly is my forward observer, who is down right at the back of my deployment zone, because I wanted him safe so that the pre-planned artillery didn't get cancelled. He's going to have to leg it up the hill, through the woods, sit there and start directing the fire, adjusting the spotting rounds onto the 88. That's going to take a long time, but that's okay, I can wait. 10 minutes later, in comes the fire mission. I suppose I could be accused of going slightly overboard here, but there's no kill like overkill. I really wanted to make sure that 88 is no longer a problem. It's been knocked out and abandoned, so the T-34s are finally freed up to support my infantry trying to clear the woods. The infantry on both sides here have gotten pretty well hammered, so there's been a lot of cowering and going to ground on both sides as my guys are trying to push forward. But now that the tanks have come in, it's just a matter of finding enemy positions and destroying them. It's slow going, but as long as I keep the T-34s back out of range of any possible Panzerschrecks still lurking about, I should be good. I'm pretty sure that I would have spotted any other major anti-tank assets by now. He's not getting any reinforcements. In terms of the enemy, I think I'm probably up against the German infantry company, judging by the points and what I've seen of it so far. So he's probably got one platoon in the left woods, one in the right wood, and one at the back in reserve. So as long as I keep on like this, I can destroy him in detail by overwhelming one little portion of his force at a time. That's the theory. So just a quick few words on why I went for the max casualties tank bum rush assault at the start instead of the slow and steady approach that people have been advocating in the comments and on the forum. I've already talked about concentration of force and simplicity in the first video, but two of the things that I think I kind of glossed over were speed and surprise. I wanted to move as fast as possible without giving too much of my intentions away until the last moment, because the defender's solution to the attacker being able to pick and choose where to concentrate is to have a tripwire out in front to discover the attacker's intent, and then a large reserve to deploy based on that instead of trying to defend everything. Slow and steady has its advantages. I'm using it now, it's totally sensible. But it can give the game away The entire punch through took about 5 to 6 turns, 5 to 6 minutes, in which time my opponent has to work out what I'm doing in a sea of uncertainty and incomplete information before deciding how he's going to reorient his defense and moving his troops to do it. That's one of the things I was looking to exploit with the speed. In hindsight, some of my timings were off. I could have pulled that off an awful lot faster if I'd coordinated it better, and hopefully that would have led to fewer casualties. But that's a niggle with the execution rather than a base problem. Anyway, it takes a fair while for me to clear out the leftwards, and with only 8 minutes left, I'm only just starting to cross the open space between the middle woods to attack the one on the right, which I haven't touched yet. This is mostly because my troops have had their morale ruined by their uncaring commanding officer, but also because I've been reorganising and regrouping them for the final attack. The right woods have got mortared a bit. The T-34s are spraying them with MG fire to soften them up and keep the enemy's heads down, while the first SMG squad starts to cross over by bounding over them. These guys are on break-in or reconnaissance by death. I'm basically using them as bait to gauge the German resistance. They get in okay. I can see some Germans running from their foxholes. I don't know whether they've had enough or they're just trying to redeploy. It looks good enough to send everybody else over. I only need to clear out a little area of these woods to stop the enemy from contesting the objective. As the guys get a bit further in, the enemy is still capable of putting up a fight, so it's time for weight of numbers and weight of fire to quickly solve this problem. So I'm very, very quickly running out of time here. This is the tanks and the submachine guns working together like they're supposed to. My guys are pushing up by bounds, using their ammunition up. It's not like they're going to be needing it in a little bit. It looks just about they're going to clear the rightwards objectives in time, but I've still got to make sure that the rest of the objective area is empty of the enemy if I want to control it at the end. That means I have to make sure there's no Germans up in the top end of the objective that I can't really see. So, 2 minutes to go, one last rush with my two closest T-34s. I really don't have a choice here. The first one strays too close to the left backwards and it gets hit. That's a Panzerschreck, that tank is out of action. But the other one makes it. There's a single enemy contact icon right at the back, just as I'm giving my orders for the last turn. So I tell the T-34 to area fire at it. Fires a shell, the icon disappears, literally with 40 seconds to go. Game ends. It's a total victory. But only just. That was so close. Literally, that last shell from the T-34 cleared out the objective and won me the game. Otherwise, it would probably have been a fairly close, messy draw. So, that's that for now, guys. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Me and my opponent certainly enjoyed playing it. After this one, what we did was we swapped over. So I defended it as the Germans and he attacked as the Russians. That was another interesting game. It makes a very nice comparison to this one. So that one's probably next in the pipeline. Unless the next combat mission, Final Blitzkrieg, which is set in the Battle of the Bulge and the Ardennes, comes out before I can get the next video off, in which case I'll try and cook something up so that you guys can have a look at that, because that looks all shiny and new. So thanks again for watching, guys. Don't forget to comment, rate and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.